Hey, Karen, we're starting to come back to work. We're going to be in a hybrid environment, and I've got to tell you, I am so worried about the loss in productivity. I have found a cadence at home that's really working for me. Now I got to commute in. I'm worried about all the disruptions. What should I do? Asking for a friend. Well, I have got to tell you, I've been having that exact conversation with many, many people multiple times a week. This is weighing heavily on many people's hearts and minds. So I'm going to share some of my thoughts on this, and then I would love to hear more from the people in the LinkedIn community, from you. Tell me, what is your best advice for staying productive as you are returning to work, either part-time or in the office full-time? So here we go. First, I would say inventory what made being working from home so effective for you. What was different? Was it that you started earlier? Is it that you carved out blocks of quiet time? Is that you took a walk in the middle of the day? What was it that worked well? And how can you take some of those learnings and carry them forward into your return to the office? Next is, I would say, talk with your team, because you are not the only one who is struggling with this. Talk about what you've learned, what your expectations are, what your concerns are, and see how can you work together to support one another, to create a cadence in your new hybrid or full-time back in the office environment to make it be successful for everyone. I'm going to put a link in the comments below about a hybrid team assessment where you can actually talk about how you're communicating and think about opportunities to take your collaboration to the next level. Next, I would say leverage your commute. If you're now having to add on a commute that you haven't had in the last 18 months, think about, is there a way to use that time productively? Should you listen to a podcast that will help with your professional development? Listen to an Audible book that will help you think more strategically about your role? Or do you want to use that as quiet time to really reflect and plan for your day and think about strategic issues? Often, when I was spending a lot of time traveling on the road in my car, one of the things I would always do is make a deliberate plan of people to call along that time. So if I knew I had an early bird, hey, why don't we connect while we're both driving in so we could use that time productively? Then I would say be very deliberate about how you use your time in which places. So say you're working in an environment where you're expected to be in the office on Tuesdays and Thursdays. Well, plan your time so that when you are actually in the office, you're able to use that time to connect, to do your more strategic work, to make the in-person decisions, to build those relationships, and then use the time that you are working from home on the more introspective activities that will lead to success. And then I would say also, consider time blocking. And do you want to establish either quiet hours or office hours, and say to folks, hey, I am available from 8:30 to 10:30. This is a great time if you want to just drop by and have some conversations around things. Of course, if an emergency comes up, we'll talk about other things, but this is the best time for you to reach me if you've got some impromptu things that you talk about. That way you may be able to offset some of this constant people walking by your office and seeing you and going, just one more thing. And so you help to manage and time block your day. Also, you could say, hey, between like 1 and 3, this is a time that I'm really going to be spending doing quiet strategic work. Unless the sky is falling, could you please preserve that time for me to do that quiet, deliberate thinking? And then I would say use your in-person time to invest in the strategic relationships that will be most valuable. It's been hard, right? It's been hard to not be in the room with people. So when you, instead of being like, it's just going to be a disruption, say, who are the strategic relationships I really need to invest in? Who do I miss? Who should I be collaborating with? And how do you plan the time that you are in person to really work deliberately and strategically on those relationships? And the final thing I would add here is you don't have to come out with your whole productivity strategy all at once. Just as you learned and iterated along the way as you were beginning to work exclusively working from home, now as you come back, every week say, how did that go? What do I need to change? And learn and continue to adapt. So those are a few of my thoughts. What would you add?